So can we change the value of these roll number, name, section, standard? Yes. Once it is allocated, you can override it. That's possible. So here, once you have done S1 dot name is this, S1 dot roll number is this, section is this. If you want to change it, it's possible. You can write any time you can write again S1 dot roll number is 103 now, something like this. That's possible. But let's take a real world example where a student will go to the next class. Student will go or will be promoted once his or her exam is done. They will be promoted to the next class, correct? Standard. So what you can do, you can create a function s1 dot promote, right? This is the function call. This is not the definition. What we call this is call, function call. So you can create a function which is simple, promote, okay? And you want to change the value. So you want to add 1 to the standard and you want to reallocate to standard. It's very simple. So you are saying x is equals to x plus 1, something like that, or standard is equals to standard plus 1. That's it. Now the question is, how it is sure that it has to promote or it has to change the, let's say, student S2 is at class 5th. Okay. So when you are saying promote, will it change the value of standard for student S1 also and a student S2 also? No, it will not do it. So what I'm saying is, if you will call this promote function, will it change the standard value of both the student? Both the students are different, right? S1 is independent student, S5 or S2, whatever we are taking, is another independent student. Okay. Moreover, how Java works is it will change the value of those from wherever you have called it. So for example, you called it for S1. See here, you called to you call the change of you standard, right, through a promote function, but you're calling it for S1. So it will change the value of standard for S1 only. Okay, it's very smart. That's why we are calling it through S1 dot promote. Okay, it's like this. So here another example. If you want to see the value of all the values of S2 student, you call it through S2 dot show detail, right? So it will show only the details of S2. It will not show the value of S1. Okay. So let's see when you will execute it. When you are executing it, see here, it is showing me at the end this John 115 A and 5 because of the line number 47 here, where you are calling show detail for S2. Okay, simple one. Now we'll understand the concept of constructor. We'll add another agenda here, which we want to understand about this constructor. And take all these things practically. Don't learn this thing theoretically. In academic, we do this mistake that we learn the things theoretically and we try to mug it, we try to remember it so that we can make other people understand in interview and all, right? But it's better you understand it. Once you understand it, you will remember for life. Okay. Now, constructor. What is the problem here? In this program, there is a problem. Problem means it's like there is something missing. Right? What is missing here is when you create the object, there is no initial values. Right? You have to explicitly put all these things. You have to explicitly put the details of student. Okay, it's happening here. There should be a way where even if I'll not put the values, something should be initialized by default. Okay. Let's create another example for the constructor part. I'm creating a fresh example. Employee, this time I'll take employee class. Okay. And we'll create main function also. So here in the employee, what can be the properties? Integer EMP ID, correct? That can be one property. And another is, I am taking simple things as of now, string EMP name, employee name, fine. And we can create objects. So we'll say employee E1 is equals to new employee, and we'll put the values. So how to put it? Simple. E1 dot EMP ID is equals to 2 to 1, and E1 dot employee name is equals to Anita. Okay, done. And if you want to see the value, either you can make a function show detail, or as of now, I can do it like this: system.out.println. What I want to print? I want to print E1 dot employee ID. Simple, right? I want to print these two things. I want to print employee ID and I want to print E1 dot name, EMP. See, if I'll execute this, it's a very simple program where we are creating employee, some data, instance variables, assigning it through dot, and then printing it. Nothing difficult here. Okay. What I'm saying is, when you're creating the employee, there should be some default value should be initialized. That will be a good what we say practice for programming, right? So here we can create a constructor. So let's understand what is constructor at all. By definition, constructor is a method which has same name as class name. Simple. So same name as class name. Okay, employee, but it is a method. It's not a class. It's a method. So class name is employee. Whenever you see a class name and there is a method which has the same name as class name, that means it's a constructor. That means it's a constructor. Simple. What constructor does generally, why constructor was invented is because we want to do some default thing whenever one object is created. That's very simple. So at that point, what I want to do is initially, I want to say, hey, employee ID should be 0. If somebody is not allocating this, put it 0. And EMP name should be, let's say, no name, something like this. I'll give you real life example also. Okay. So let's say you're filling a form, right? Somewhere you're filling the form. There are a lot of mandatory fields and there are a lot of, default fields or non-mandatory field, optional field, correct? So when you do not fill the values for the optional part, in the system, it goes automatically something. It will go in your system automatically something. For example, let's say there is a form where you have to fill something. You have filled the phone number as some Indian phone number, and there is nationality field also, which is optional, right? So automatically it will fill India. Maybe it will capture from your location, from your browser, from your mobile, and it will keep the location or the nationality as India automatically. Just for some one example, right? Let's assume another way. Let's say when you hire an employee, you don't know about, let's say, his hobbies. So there can be hobbies, something like this. Let me take it here. Just a minute, not here, here. Spring hobbies. Okay. But you don't want to fill the values of hobbies as of now, right? You don't want to fill the values of hobbies. Once the employee will be hired, um, everything is settled down, then he or she herself will put the values of hobbies in some form, right? So what we want to do, we want to keep hobbies as null values as of now, right? So that way constructor will be helpful. So here if you see here, let me complete it, then I'll tell you. So here hobbies will be null, which can be filled later on. Now if I'll print here hobbies, SYSO, even dot. Okay. Let's understand this program now, and about the constructor also, how this will work. Execution will start from main function. Always remember, execution starts from main function. In the main function, at the 19th line, you are creating a new employee. Perfectly fine. You are saying that I want a copy of this class. I want a copy of this class. Okay. So, and this instance variable will go with E1. So there will be three things will be created. E1.employee ID, E1.emp name, E1.hobbies. Fine. All empty. We have not put any value. But then you are saying, I want to have E1.emp ID as 21, E1.emp name as Anita. Okay. And all this thing. But you are printing hobbies also. When you are showing the detail, you want to have hobbies also. But you have not put any hobby here, right? So constructor is useful. One of the thing. Constructor, what it will do, whenever you will create the object, it will call a constructor, which is a function only, a method only, which you can put, in your program. You can create without saying public void anything. You just say employee. That's it. The same name as class name. So what happens this time, how the execution will happen, whenever you will create this object, let me put it in diagram itself. I'll create a new file. What is going to happen this time? Let's not save this. What is happening now is when you say employee E1 is equals to new employee bracket, right? You're saying this. What will happen with this particular statement in the background? It will create a box. The reference to this box is E1, or you can say name of this box is E1. And there are two things which are instance variable. What is that? EMP ID, EMP name, and hobbies. Three things. EMP ID, EMP name, and hobbies. Okay. all empty. There is no value here. It is just emp id, emp name, hobbies for E1. No values. You have not allocated any value. But what happens when you do this new employee, it will go to the constructor. It will go to this constructor method and it will say that, okay, you created one new employee. Let's put the default values or the initialize the values. So when you create it, automatically these will be initialized as 0. EMP name will be no name, and hobbies will be null. Okay. Now it's up to you how many values you want to fill. There may be, for an employee property, there may be 15 to 16 field. We are taking just 3 fields, right? There may be 16 other properties related to phone number, permanent address, local address, spouse detail, children detail, previous employer. There are a lot of things which can be a property of employee. So, but every field you will not put it, right? So for example, you created E1, but you just want to put employee ID and the name as of now, correct? What happens to the other things? So the other things will be default, which can be put it through constructor. Okay, that's it. We'll understand about the constructor in detail. There are parameterized constructor and all, right? But quickly, I want to show you another example. One constructor is this, right? You can create one more constructor. So constructor can be overloaded. We have understood in some of our previous session what is the overloaded methods, right? In the same way, you can have overloaded constructor. Here I will say whatever I'll pass. So I'll say, let's say int x comma what was that? String n comma string h. Okay, and here I will say employee ID should be x, emp name should be n. Don't worry about it. I'll make you understand in detail if we'll do next session also. Don't worry. So this time what you can do while creating the employee itself, let's do it. So what I'm saying, you can say employee, let's say another employee, E2 is equals to new employee, but you want to pass the values also. That's possible. So while creating the employee itself, you can pass the values of the new employee. You don't have to do dot thing. Right? You want to assign the values when you create the employee itself. So you can pass it. Let's say employee ID 224 and his name is, let's say, Nitesh, and their hobby is, let's say, traveling, something like this. I'm putting some random thing here, but then I want to print this, right? So I can again print it through this. I can print the values of E2, but I have to put it here, E2. It will be E2, E2, E2. So this time what will happen, because of line number 34, it will say, okay, I want to create a new employee with these values. So it will search for parameterized constructor. So there is a constructor which will accept 3 values. So 224 will go to X, Nitesh will go to N, traveling will go to this string H. And then you're saying, okay, employee ID will be X, EMP name will be N, and hobbies will be H. Because when you say new employee, see, by default, this is going to create EMP ID, EMP name, and hobbies with no values, with no values. But now you're putting all these three values, right? So it will be assigned to E2 object. Here it is printing me all these things. That's it for today. We'll continue on learning about constructor in detail.